What's going on, everybody? As you guys know, I have been absolutely loving making Octo Expansion content here on my YouTube channel. I've been uploading PBs as I get them, and they are happening very fast. I'm practicing the game regularly, and here I want to switch it up a little bit by doing a little bit of a fun video. This will be a top 5 hardest levels in the any percent route. Now, these levels are chosen from my own opinion. They are based on how likely I am to fail at a certain part of the level and whether or not that failure is going to cost me a lot of time. I will also not be including any levels from the escape sequence. It's only going to be the levels you can do from the train. This is because the escape sequence is where a lot of runs die, and it's a lot harder to practice and gauge the difficulty of them, so it may be a little unfair to include them in this list. So let's go ahead and get this list started with number 5 is D06C01 Radical Rails. This is a cycle-based level, and the cycle starts as soon as you enter the train, so you have to do everything perfectly, including choosing the Jet Squelcher. Also, you have to hit every single shot with the Jet Squelcher, and as you Splatoon players know, the Jet Squelcher is not very well known for its long-range accuracy. So sometimes you're going to miss some and it will lose a lot of time because it's just not in your route. You have to be aiming perfectly on these boxes, and you have to memorize exactly where the boxes are going to be in order to do this level fast. So this is a very highly practiced level, but it is very good at getting better at aiming. Number 4 is C03 A08 Bouncin 8-Ball Station. Compared to other 8-ball levels in the entire Octo Expansion, bouncing 8-ball levels is not that bad. It's actually pretty tame. The enemies aren't really going to mess you up very much. Sometimes they will, but so long as you know what you're doing and you take it slow, you can probably make it through this level with minimal 8-ball droppage. So if it's not that difficult, then why does it make the list? Well, first of all, there's only 2 8-ball levels in any percent, so obviously this one has to go somewhere because 8-ball levels are always going to be harder than normal levels. And second is because of the very ending of the level. While you can probably get through this middle section pretty consistently every time, this ending has the potential of losing upwards of 20 seconds for really no reason. You can try your best to control this ball, but the enemies at the end can kind of just have their way with it, and by the time you're done killing all of them, you have to run backwards and try and control the ball, and you're shooting and you're throwing the burst bomb, trying to stop it with your body. It just doesn't work, and this can lead to a lot of frustrations because it's not a huge mistake, but it can definitely throw you back a couple seconds and even kill the run if you are a seasoned player. As you can probably guess, number 3 will be the other 8-ball level, B01 A03 Wassup 8-Ball Station. To get started with this level, I have to give a couple of reasons why this one is worse than the bouncing 8-Ball Station, and it's mostly just because of how precise it is. This is another cycle-based level, which means that all of the moving platforms and moving things that you have to use to progress through the level are on a fixed cycle from the time you enter from the train. So you have to play every single bit of this level perfectly in order to get the correct cycle. The cycle at the end is on a 7-second timer, so every time you miss a cycle, even if you only were a slight fraction of a second too slow, you're going to lose 7 seconds, and if you miss another cycle, you're going to miss another 7 seconds. This is definitely my more practiced of the 2 8-ball levels in any percent, because I have to do it completely from start to finish in order to do it properly. If I don't, then I'm not going to be learning the movement that's necessary to get to the first cycle. At the very least, this level is very consistent. So long as you put in the practice, you can get the first cycle every single time. Which is why Wassup 8-Ball Station makes number 3 on the list, and we can move on to number 2, I04 Can't Touch This Station. I'm sure that all you casual players probably know exactly why this level is on the list. This one is hard for all levels of players. If it's your first time playing, it's extremely difficult, and even if I'm a speedrunner and I've practiced this level hundreds of times, there are certain things that I just cannot control when it comes to the enemies, and it seems like you have to do every single thing perfect. Luckily, there are a lot of techniques when it comes to dodging the enemy fire. One trick that we like to use is throwing curling bombs, which luckily the Squiffer comes with. The curling bomb is going to draw attention from all the enemies, and in some cases, it's used to even explode into the enemies in order to knock them out, so you don't have to deal with them. Another reason we use the Squiffer is because the Squiffer will make a direct and solid line right in front of me no matter what. There's not going to be any RNG or weird squiggly lines like I would with the Roller or the Tent Umbrella. On top of being difficult for the obvious reasons, this level can be absolutely brutal when done in a speedrun, because it also has one of the most costly deaths in terms of time lost in the entire run. It turns out at this very ending section, right where this squeegee is, if you get shot by this enemy, it loses about 20 seconds, which can be devastating in a run. Not only that, but these enemies at the end sometimes don't get scared by the curling bomb, so they'll just shoot you even though you did everything right. So it can be very inconsistent sometimes. I've practiced this level a bunch, and even then I can say I'm maybe 60% consistent, meaning 60% of the time I'll get through the level perfectly, which is not a very good confidence. Before we get to number 1, let's do a couple of honorable mentions so I'm not yelled at in the comments. First, we have J01H07 Cool Your Jet Station, also known as the Shower Boss. Now, this one isn't terribly difficult. I do practice it a lot, but even some casual players I've heard will use this boss to grind credits because it is very, very, very fast, and it's very easy to practice. So learning the quick kill doesn't take very long, and it's not a very inconsistent boss. Even if you make a mistake, it's probably only going to take about 6 seconds from your run, so it's not that dangerous. Next, we have J03 Girl Power Station. This one is notorious for being difficult for casual players, so I have to give it an honorable mention. This is, don't get me wrong, a very difficult level, but given the fact that I have done this level hundreds of times, and I know exactly where the girls spawn, this is not really going to be any risk in the speedrun. Also, even if I make minor mistakes here and there, the only thing that can ruin this level at all is failing it completely. This is an auto-scroller from start to finish, so you cannot save or lose time in the entire level. And finally, we have A06 Bounce With Me Station, also known as the Blaster level. This level has to get an honorable mention because doing it extremely fast, as in the fastest cycle you can do, is very, very, very hard. You have to do the movement completely and utterly perfect in order to get that fastest cycle, even including some crazy sub-weapon, sub-shiftings, what is it called, splat shifting, sub-strafing, is that the word? You have to do some crazy stuff. So even though that is hard, it doesn't really crack the top 5 just because if you choose to not do it, it's only about 7 seconds faster, so you're not really losing much, and the slower cycle isn't going to ruin your life. Quick reminder that if you guys like this video and want to see more content similar to it, then let me know down in the comments and consider subscribing to the channel because it's free and it really helps me out, and I'm sure that you guys will like the content that's going to be coming in the future. Now the moment we've all been waiting for, the hardest level in Splatoon 2 Octo Expansion any percent is, of course, J02 Match Master. Now, this level is so hard that most people who play this game casually will never, ever do it with the blaster. Most people will do every single weapon in the entire game, but they will leave the blaster because it is just so freaking hard. And there is a reason for it. It's extremely hard to understand and even harder to do fast. Your aiming has to be perfect throughout the entire level, and it has to be fast. Not only that, but the blaster is unforgiving. If you miss even one shot, your entire run is going to be over. It is a huge time loss to die anywhere in this level. Even if you mess up at the very beginning, you're losing about 15 seconds, and if you mess up at the end, God forbid, you're losing a minute. And if using the blaster wasn't bad enough, this is also an extremely long level that has no checkpoint. So if you mess up at all, there's no backup. You can't even play it safe. There is no playing it safe. It's either do it fast or reset. Most top runners can do this level consistently in under a minute. To put it in perspective, doing this level with the squeezer is going to take double the time. So if you are speedrunning this game and you want to have a good time, it is not an option. You have to do this level the hard way. There are so many things in this level I'm not going to get the chance to talk about in this video, but if you are interested in learning more about it, I made a 20-minute tutorial video that will show you every single thing that you need to know about doing this level with the blaster. But even though this level is incredibly difficult, it's kind of what makes it my favorite level. There is always a way to do the level faster, which means that I can practice and practice and practice, and I am always going to get better. For beginner runners who are just now using the blaster, this is one of those levels that is going to drastically improve your any percent time, because if you have the patience to practice this level, it is going to improve your skills everywhere in the speedrun. So, how do you like my list? If you disagree with any of my picks, please feel free to let me know in the comments. And if you are interested in speedrunning Octo Expansion at all, possibly if you're hyped for Splatoon 3, then also consider joining the Splatoon 2 speedrunning Discord. We are active in there, and there's plenty of runners to help you out getting started. That is it for this video, and I'll see you next time.